What's up guys, my name is Natalie and welcome to my Nook of Novels. Today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up, so I'm going to be giving you guys my spoiler-free thoughts on all of the books that I read in the month of August. So before we get started on the actual books, I just wanted to mention that this ring that I always wear broke right before I started filming this video. I don't know why, but the part of it just fell off for no reason. But I still have this one, so it's fine. Anyway, but the actual video. The first thing that I read in the month of August was The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and I really enjoyed this book. I love John Green's writing style, so it was no surprise to me that I really enjoyed this book because I love all of his books. I honestly had no idea what this one was about before I started reading it, but he basically is just reviewing a lot of different things. They're less reviews, I guess, and more just informative things about various aspects of life, essentially, is the best way that I can think to describe it. So every chapter is dedicated to a different thing. So there's one for the famous Nathan's hot dog eating contest, there's one for Haley's Comet, there's one for, it's a band, the something goats, the mountain goats, I think is what they're called. Yeah, the mountain goats. They're different random things. There's not really any particular theme for what all the chapters are, and they were very interesting. I feel like I learned a lot from reading this book, just random facts about different things. I feel like normally I wouldn't really enjoy reading something like this, but just John Green's writing style just made it really funny in a lot of parts and kept me entertained. I don't know, I feel like it was a very enjoyable read for what it was. Like I said, I just feel like I learned a lot while reading it, and I wasn't really bored throughout it because I was just wanting to, I guess, see his thoughts on all these different things and his experiences of these things. I don't really know what else to say about it because it kind of almost reads like a short story collection because it's about so many different things. I definitely really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I would recommend this if you like John Green's other books, but mostly for his writing style and just if you want to learn about some new things. The next thing that I read was kind of 2 different books, but it was Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, but I also read the graphic novel by Danica Novgorodov. So the text in both of the books is pretty much the same, but the graphic novel obviously had pictures, and so I read them side by side with each other because I wanted to experience the story both ways. I feel like it's different reading the graphic novel because it's not really in poetry form. The words are the same, like I said, just the layout of them and how they're written just makes it a lot different than reading the original book. But I definitely still really enjoyed it both ways. I gave the graphic novel 4.5 stars and the non-graphic novel 5 stars. The story itself was so good. It has very dark elements to it, and it's definitely not just a happy, cheerful book by any means at all. So it's about this kid who is going down this elevator and he's trying to decide whether or not he's going to avenge his brother's death because he got shot. And they live in a not very nice neighborhood, and basically there's this rule that if somebody in your family gets killed, then you're supposed to avenge them and kill the person who killed them. There is definitely a very intricate web of people killing each other, and people from his past show up in this book, and you can just really see the connections that he has with all of these different people and how they impact the decisions that he's making and his life in general, how they influenced him to become the person that he is. And you can definitely tell how much that he cared for his brother based on all of the things that happen. I honestly was quite surprised by the turn of events, not to spoil it and tell you what happened, but there kind of was another element in this book that I was not exactly expecting, so that was really exciting. That's really all I want to say about this. Definitely go check this out if the concept of it sounds interesting to you. Jason Reynolds writes very unique stories, and I've really enjoyed the ones that I've read by him, and I definitely am planning to read more. But like I said, if that concept sounds interesting, then definitely go check this out because it's a really quick read and it's definitely worth it. The next thing that I read was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I almost said Jason Reynolds, but obviously that was the author of the other book that I read. I gave this 4 stars. I love the setting and the vibes of this book because it's set in 1920s New York. So it follows the main character character whose name I cannot even remember, and his neighbor Gatsby, who is basically famous for having this huge mansion and being one of the most rich people ever having all these parties and everything, and there's kind of some interwoven, I don't want to say love triangles, but it kind of is like that. The romance situation is complicated, and the story of these people falling in love with each other and the things that they do based on that. I don't really know how else to explain this. I feel like a lot of you probably already have read this or know about it. I don't know how to explain the plot of it, because really most of what this book is about isn't about the plot. It's about the motivations for these characters doing certain things because of the love interests. I don't know if that made any sense, but I really love this. This is just kind of the exact kind of book that I like to read, because it goes so deep into the characterization and the love stories, and you can just tell how much these characters care about each other. Also, the setting, like I said, is just so glamorous, and I just love it. Where the story lost a star was, like I said, it goes into the characterization of the characters a lot, but I didn't necessarily feel super attached to them, but I liked seeing their motivations and how they interacted with each other, but I didn't personally have a connection with them. I don't know if that really makes sense. That's the only place where this fell flat. I really enjoyed this, and the writing style was so pretty. This was a super enjoyable read, and I'm really glad that I read this, and I'm honestly super excited to read this for school, because we're going to read this as a class and analyze it and all of that jazz, and I'm really excited to see what other people's thoughts are on it. And yeah, the next thing I read was another classic, and that is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is the kids version with all the pictures and stuff. I don't have too much to say about this. I only gave it 3 stars. It basically follows this kid who has a very hard life. He isn't really loved. He's an orphan, and the people taking care of him treat him very poorly. He goes from like family to family, I guess. It's basically just him trying to find somebody who cares about him and will actually take care of him and treat him like a human being. It just kind of reminded me a lot of a bunch of other things that I've read, and I wasn't super attached to any of the characters, the way that it bounced around a lot. The way that it's written is very much for kids, so I feel like the original book is probably quite a bit different than this, because obviously Charles Dickens' writing is super hard to understand, and it's super like old. So it's probably quite a bit different than the way that this is written. So I definitely think that the experience of reading this versus the original would be so much different. The only thing is, I feel like for a kid's book, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened in this, and obviously it's based on an original story that I'm pretty sure is not a children's book, and they didn't really change the plot of it. It was very dark for something that kids would read, and it wasn't very graphic or anything like that, but there was like 5 people that died at the end or something, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that is a lot of death happening for a kid's book. But yeah, it was enjoyable. It wasn't super memorable. I didn't care too much about any of the stuff that was happening. It was just alright. So that's why I gave it 3 stars. That is all of the books that I read the entirety of in the month of August. I'm not going to be reading a punishment book for next month, because there was just a lot of stuff that happened towards the end of August, and I just felt like being nice to myself and not making myself read a punishment. But if I didn't have to read a punishment book last month, I definitely would have gotten through the TBR, I think. But I got most of the way through Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey, but I'm still working my way through that and really enjoying it so far. And I've also started One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So I'm going to be finishing those up at the start of September and trying to read as much as I can of the September TBR as well. Hey guys, so I just wanted to pop in real quick to mention that for the Rainbow Readathon that I'm sort of kind of hosting still, that I just always forget about, and I'm barely even really participating in it, but it still exists. So the color for the month of August was brown, and Oliver Twist did have some brown on the cover. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically every month I try to read a book with a different cover on the color, and it's honestly the easiest thing in the world. I always forget about it, and I still just manage to read books that have the colors on them just by chance, pretty much. But anyway, I succeeded because Oliver Twist has brown on the cover, because the hat and the jacket is kind of orangey brown, but still brown. But yeah, success. That is all for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you would like to, and hit the notification bell if you would like to see the other videos that I post on Tuesdays. Comment down below your favorite book that you read in the month of August. My Bookstagram and Goodreads will be linked in the description if you guys would like to check out either of those, as well as the playlist to all of my other wrap-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!